rugged shores and woodlands of the north, it's history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fishery. To the farmlands of the southern counties we'll look around, my friend, and all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan. And sometimes when the moon brings out the diamonds in the snow, and the stillness of the forest lies encased in Arctic cold, the wind might whisper through the trees, listen if you can. It tells you of the beauty in the state of Michigan.
Hi there, come on in. Tuesday was opening day of Michigan's bow hunting season for deer. John Ford and I were up in Alcona County, Vic Werp's Dry Hole Club. We hunted some deluxe blinds. Our report is coming up. Our DNR update will involve an interview with our governor, John Engler, and the new DNR director, Raleigh Harms. Our questions about the DNR's handling of hunting and fishing licenses still haven't been answered by the DNR after more than 5 weeks, and Representative Tom Alley's legislative committee is now asking for an explanation. All this and more, so you stay tuned. I'm Fred Trost. It's Thursday night. Time for Michigan Outdoors. Oh, the 1st of October. What a gorgeous time to be in the woods. This is the opening of Michigan's bow season, October 1st. A lot of people write to me and call and they say, where could I go hunting? Not on state land, because I really don't know exactly what I'm doing, but is there a place I could go to rent a blind somewhere? Well, there are a few places like we're hunting here this week. This is Vic Werp's Dry Hole Club in Alcona County. 360 acres he owns, and he has blinds set throughout the woods here. And there's names to these blinds set in specific locations. This is the blind that we were hunting yesterday, opening day. Now, John was in a different blind because we wanted to be real quiet, better our chances of getting a deer. But this is the kind of blind that you're going to get if you go to one of these clubs where it's hunt for hire. It's a permanent blind. Some people would say, this really isn't hunting. But now let me take you through a tour of this and show you the situation. Now, the blind here, of course, this is all solid construction. It has a metal roof, even has little eaves over the windows here to keep the rain out, and it keeps this blind dry. The real beauty of this is, if you look at the construction here, this is a wooden floor with carpeting, very solid, so we can walk around in here and not make any noise. Let's just look around here at the windows, John. This is the prime window where we shoot out of for archery and gun hunting later on in the season. This is the window. See, the blind is elongated so you can have room to draw your bow inside here, but there are windows all around. Now, as I step in here, just take a look at the floor here. Set my bucket down. Normally, if I was in the woods, I would hunt sitting on this bucket right here. But look at this floor. You can see this is totally quiet. There's no creaking. It was built this way with a lot of solid underpinning here, and that makes it quiet when you move around in the blind. Why don't you come in, John? Show you, this is where we hang the bow. Now here's another nice thing. A carpeting strip by this 2x4 so I can hang the bow up there like that, and it can bump against here and really not make any noise. So if I see a deer, I can just lift it right off, get ready to shoot. Now, these are the little windows you see. These are on sliding panels. This is for you do-it-yourselfers that want to make a blind like this. This can be real quiet, too, for opening and shutting a window. Not much noise to it. We'll open these up on both sides. So there's lots of viewing. Here's a little slot right here you can view. But there's one chair right in the back, and you can sit in the back of this blind on the chair, look through these windows, look out the front to spot any deer. There's enough room on the ceiling. Of course, this is all dry in here, which is great, but there's room in the ceiling so you can draw your bow back. You have plenty of room, no problem. But mainly you shoot out the front window. So you're sitting in here watching for deer. Now, what are the pros and cons of a blind like this? Well, obviously one of the pros is that you can settle back in there and have a snooze now and then if you want to. You can stay in the blind all day long. And that's a real beauty of it. Get here before daylight and stay until dark. Bring some food with you. You could even heat some things up. If it really gets cold, you can have a little heater. Oh, listen. It's raining. Oh, beautiful. We're dry, and a lot of times the deer move when it's raining. A number of deer are taken, well, at least in the sprinkles like this. The deer I got last night, I don't want to get too far to the end of the story, but was when it was sprinkling. So the problem with a blind like this, though, is that it's permanent, and you're going to have to bring the deer to you. John, if you can swing around here, swing around to this side. This is mainly where we're shooting at here, and you see what we have? There are several things here that attract deer to this area. In a blind like this, the deer have to come here because the blind is not set up along a runway. It's set up in a natural area where the deer move. But that bait pile out there is a subject of some controversy among hunters. Let's go out and take a look at it. I'm going to swing this door shut just so it looks a little better. Now this is what the deer sees, and this is what is attracting the deer to the area. But there's three things here going for this. This is a big open plains. You can see the oak trees here, a lot of oak trees. There's maple and oak mixed. But these oak trees bring the deer in because they cruise through here for the acorns. We'll also have turkeys and squirrels going for these acorns. Another thing, this is a rye field. Now, it's only about 30 feet in diameter, but this is rye that's planted here, and to some degree, the deer come in and nibble on this rye. They like this greenery, but there's a lot of that in the woods, but it does help attract the deer to this opening. And here's the other thing, oftentimes controversial, using bait for deer. Well, what are you going to do to bring a deer to a blind like this? This bait, Vic Werp supplies corn, carrots, and apples. All of them favorite foods of deer. Not only do you see deer out here, but all through the day, squirrels, blue jays, all kinds of birds come and feed on this. It provides quite a lot of entertainment. This is the distance from the bait pile to the blind. Now actually, the deer that I got, in fact I got a deer and a squirrel yesterday, were another 10 yards that direction, so I had a 20-yard shot. But that's what the deer sees. Let me jump back in the blind, John, and I want you to see if you can see me through that hole in the blind. When I get in the blind, John will be able to see me because my face is not camoed. You don't have to wear, it's another great thing about a blind like this, you don't have to wear a lot of camo because you're fairly well hidden. But if I had a deer out in front of the blind, I'd take my bow off like this, and John, just say, John, it's where the deer is. You can see me, you can see my face in here as I draw back and as I move, but it's kind of difficult for the deer to see in a way. I'm going to show you how I can make it more difficult. One thing I can do. Now, John, watch this, because I'm going to shut the windows and watch what happens. Now you see it's very difficult to see me in this blind. Now that makes it a lot easier for me to slip the bow off and maneuver in position for a shot. But these windows being on slides, being very silent, you can slide them back even when a deer is approaching. Now that we have the blind dark, you can see me when I get up close to the front, looking out, so you want to be careful if you do this in the blind like that. Also, you know, a camouflage glove and camo on your face could help a little bit, but the deer normally don't see it. But there's one way that a deer will see, and this is a principle of hunting in a blind. You don't want to open this window back here. That back window, that allows a deer to easily see your silhouette right through the blind. So you don't want to have this window open while you're hunting. But there are some real advantages to a blind like this. One thing is you can adjust these windows. You don't have to open them all the way, just a little bit, enough to peek out, maybe on both sides, and that's what I do, just a little peek hole, because you're really waiting for the deer to be in front of the blind. Now, what about your scent? Well, the wind was blowing from the west towards us, and I'm really not concerned about the deer behind us. I can't see him anyway. There's all this area out in front where the deer can't smell a thing. But a blind like this is an advantage when it comes to scent. Just say we set off a smoke bomb in this blind to see how our scent would go. Basically, if there's any wind at all, it's going to go up because a structure like this creates a low pressure area with the breeze blowing by it, and the scent would go up. But the scent that leaks out, you can see, doesn't go all over the woods. So that's one advantage. Another thing is you don't have to wear camo clothes. I mean, I'm wearing blue jeans. You could even wear, frankly, blaze orange in here, and it wouldn't make much difference because the deer couldn't see. By the time the deer comes across, you can get a shot. Now, what happened on opening day? At 7:15, 2 deer came in. One of them was a buck. I thought it was a spike buck, but I shot, made a good shot. We tracked it last night. Oh, there we go.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, all right. Oh, my God. Oh, no kidding.
Oh, nice deer.
Oh, I thought it was a spike. It's a forkhorn.
Beautiful deer.
Oh, all right, Frankie.
Congratulations.
My man.
Congratulations.
Oh,
Beautiful deer.
boy, that thing went a long ways.
Real long ways.
Frank Green from Rochester helped me track this buck, which probably ended my bow hunting for the season. While the DNR allows hunters to buy tags to take multiple deer, you have to buy your tags in advance to maximize your opportunities. I didn't do this, and I had to use my either deer tag on this buck. So my bow hunting, in all probability, is over for the season. But I tell you, it was great while it lasted. Needless to say, I was thrilled and extremely surprised to luck into a buck on opening day of bow season. But if I would have bought my 2 archery tags in advance, I could have used my second bucks only tag to tag that buck. Now that would have left my option permit, my 1-4 antlerless deer or an antlered buck, to use second. So I could have got a doe second. I would have extended my bow season. But since I don't want to shoot a second buck during bow season and use up my buck hunting for the year, I want to be out there on opening day of gun season, my bow hunting is done. That's kind of a mixed blessing of bagging game. Your hunt is over. But if I was going to go hunting for a big buck with a bow, I'd head down into southern Michigan. Look at our Williams Gun Sight Hunting Awards data of the big buck counties for bows. Jackson County, top of the list. The next 7 counties also in southern Michigan, including our featured trophy book buck came from the 3rd-ranked Livingston County. Jean Musoff from Milford is a skilled bow hunter. She does preseason scouting. She hunts with a 55-pound PSE laser bow, and last season she got this 9-point buck with a 21.5-inch spread. All of us can take lessons from Jean.
I filmed him in August, and, well, I never thought I'd get him then. Well, then October, going out there, the woods was real active, and the deer were in rut out there. I took a lot of time getting into my tree stand, and was in there about 20 minutes, and I had seen him when I got in, and with an 8-point, and a doe had taken off. So after about 20 minutes, and he wasn't coming near me, I ended up getting my grunt call out, and so I grunted him in. It took about 20 minutes to grunt him in, and I shot him, and then he only went about, I got 12 feet and ended up falling down. And so I ended up shooting a couple more times because it was a good shot, but he was down.
You sound like you really know what you're doing with this hunting business.
Well, I hope so. It worked.
Is this the biggest buck you've taken?
Yeah.
How many bucks have you taken?
One other 9 with my bow and a 10 with my gun and a few little ones.
Little ones. I have a whole collection of little ones. I think they're pretty big. Jean Musoff is a serious hunter, a skilled hunter, and she deserves a title as our Outdoors Club Trophy Bow Hunter of the Week. On August 8th, Michigan Outdoors was granted an interview with Governor John Engler, a governor who, in almost 1 year in office, hasn't done anything with the organization or management of the DNR. And our main concern was sportsmen's license money. Can we ever get this $50 million channeled back into fish and game programs? Is there any chance that sportsmen, and what we're going to be analyzing, Charlie Keenan is going to be analyzing what the DNR is actually doing in fish and game management, that used to occupy the whole ball of wax. We're going to compare what we're getting out of the DNR for hunting and fishing compared to what we're putting in, and we know that it's a big discrepancy. Will we be able to set that back in balance?
Sure, and I think the thing I want to see is when you're done, we want to make sure
done.
No,
if this doesn't get solved, I'll never be done.
No, with your analysis when you're done with that, and we want to make sure that you've got access to any of the data that you need. I mean, if all the records are open, and they should be, and take it apart, put it back together, and say, this is what is, and this is what we think should be. And let us have an opportunity to react to that, because I think that's exactly what we want to see, and I'd encourage anybody to do that, because it helps me, in some cases, ask the right questions. Now, this new commission that's being formed, still has the responsibility statutorily to pick that director. They've said they want to pick a director that is going to be somebody that can work with the governor's office, and I take them at their word, and I hope that when they get down to that point where they've got some final names, they'll be talking to me. They haven't yet, but I expect they will.
Well, I would hope that you call the shot on it. You ought to. The last governor did.
Well, he made some mistakes, so doing it the way he did
I know
it.
he did, but he called the shots on it. And I guess one thing that really has undermined my faith is the DNR Commission stood up and told the press, we never talked to the governor. He never said a thing about that. And yet privately, these same commissioners said, we had to, or he would have booted us off the commission.
Yeah.
And I said, what kind of integrity does a commission have to tell the public there was no influence and say the governor picked? I mean, do it, John, do it.
Well, if I
Listen,
do it,
I got a
it'll
new
be
bumper sticker slogan here. I mean,
well, my approach is to work in a collaborative way. What I'd like to have is I'd like to have a list of 3 or 4 very strong candidates, all of whom are acceptable, and then let the commission decide which one they want. But I don't think that and I think the search has to be comprehensive enough that we really talk about how do we change the culture of the way we've been making decisions. How do we end some of the adversarial relationships, whether they're between the hunting and fishing community or people that are trying to get a site cleaned up or people that are trying to get a determination as to what standard is acceptable.
is there any chance that the Game and Fish Protection Fund, which is about $50 million, is there any chance that we can get that on a budget of its own? I mean, this has been proposed over the past few months, even within the current DNR, just so that money is matched with what we're getting for it.
If that, we'll look at that. I mean, I think all of this, we've been on the pell-mell pace since the first of the year with the $1 billion deficit that we inherited. We hope to get the 92 budget done, so that it gives us some time to be more thoughtful, more, methodical in going through piece by piece some of the parts of the budget. We had great difficulty when Mr. Hales was at the Department of Natural Resources because we didn't feel that we were getting any kind of an accurate feedback. And the comment you made earlier about
Join the group.
Well, thank you.
Really?
So that's changed. I think Del Rector on an interim basis is doing a solid job, but we need to have stability up top and down through the ranks. And one of the reasons we've gone very carefully forward on these reorganization efforts is that the point I made earlier, the department's been constantly reorganized, almost on an annual basis, it seems like. And I want to...
Well, when is somebody going to say it's too big? We've got to subdivide it here, and isn't that possible? This is one agency that has just grown.
Well, we've looked at that because I publicly raised that issue, and that set off a firestorm of comment.
Well, it was reported that you made a campaign promise to split the DNR.
Not to split it. I said that I would split the natural resources and environmental protection functions, and we're in the department today. We have these 2 major divisions there. I think that there's still too much of a confusion about who's got what role over there.
Yes.
And I think there are some things that can, and I'm particularly concerned on the environmental side, and I think while that's a problem, what you've got is all the focus there, and you end up with the natural resources side then suffering almost a benign neglect.
The governor knows the plight of the sportsman. He recognizes the neglect of our concerns and the misuse of license fee money. But his request to look over the list of prospective DNR directors from the DNR Commission was ignored. On September 12th, the commission appointed Raleigh Harms, a man who the governor had never met. 1 week after he was appointed, the new director invited me down for a discussion.
Well, first of all, I wanted to meet with you today because I've seen some of your shows, and it bothered me that some of the feedback that you've been getting from the department regarding the questions you answered. And I wanted you to come here today to tell you that the doors of this department are open to you and to anyone from the media, and that we'll provide answers to the questions you ask, and we're not going to try and duck you. And I think you raised some good questions, and I've already met with the Wildlife Division to ask them to prepare a response to the letter that you provided, and they indicated to me that they've got 7 pages of answers, which they want to review among themselves a little bit, and then they're going to send it to you. And then I suggested that once you got the letter, that we follow up and have a meeting so that we can discuss, the questions that you have and the answers that were provided, and if there's some areas that we don't agree on, then we're going to dig into it and find out the allegations that you're making, how correct they are, and if there's some problems here, we'll fix them.
That interview was 2 weeks ago, and as of this date, we still have not received the answers to our questions about the apparent fudging of the hunting and fishing license system by the DNR. But yesterday, October 2nd, I was called down by Representative Tom Alley to show our TV reports and answer questions by the House Natural Resources Committee about our findings on the DNR. I testified for 45 minutes. The DNR was not present, but will be at the committee hearing next Tuesday.
What we're going to do is request that the department come before us next week with not necessarily an answer, but an explanation from their perspective of how they see the allegation which have been presented.
So it's been 5 weeks now that the DNR has remained silent on questions they've promised to answer. Maybe next Tuesday they'll tell the truth to Representative Alley's Legislative Committee. We're going to be there with our cameras, and hopefully we'll bring you some real answers next week.
John Dubrow sent us his recipe for Bowcamp Venison stew. There's no better time to make that than right now.
I guess.
And you're going to use just chunks of venison. And you could use caribou or moose here.
Oh, no, fresh venison. Somebody's got to get a deer on opening day.
Hopefully.
Preferably a buck.
Yes. And then you're just going to brown the pieces of meat. You just want to saute them. You don't want to cook them thoroughly because they will cook later in the liquid. And then just once the color comes out, you remove those from the pan. Then you're going to saute some onions and celery right in the same pan, and a little bit of garlic. And then you're going to add some flour to this, and this actually makes its own gravy and everything right here in this pot. It'll thicken all by itself. And then you add some broth to it, and that's about all that goes into the juice, other than some tomatoes.
Is it beef broth?
Beef broth, right, exactly. And then just add a can of tomatoes and then some beer. And actually, the longer this cooks, the better it's going to taste because it's all going to blend together better.
Well, there's actually getting to be quite a few ingredients in here.
Right, there is quite a few. And then some thyme and bay leaf. And you want to make sure you remove the bay leaf before you serve it. And then just a little bit of salt and pepper. And then the rest of the seasoning is all in one packet, which really makes it nice.
Beef stew packet.
Right. And then a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. And then going to add your meat back to it right at the very end. And then
So you cook that for a while?
Right, it'll simmer for about a half hour, 45 minutes. And then add some carrots, and he calls for rutabaga and potatoes, but at this time of year, if you can't find the rutabaga, just double the amount of carrots.
And put that in there, and that makes a scrumptious stew.
Right.
I'll bet you Bob Garner could even get nostalgic.
You know, if you took this recipe and you had yourself that warm loaf of homemade bread on a chilly night where, you know, your ears just started to get a little bit chilly when you walked in, oh man, you could sit down and eat gallons of this stuff.
Sure could. This is delicious.
And it's better than the usual stews because there is just a little hint of curry in this. There's just that little hint of curry that makes it different than other stews, and just absolutely mind-boggling. This is fantastic.
So simple, too. There's so
It is.
few ingredients in here.
Including the beer.
Yep.
Holy cats, I've never had my moose head this warm, but, but it works.
Well, this caribou is almost lost. I tend to go for the potatoes more. I don't know why. The meat's great, but this
Hey, I've got some of the juice left. Should I
Do you? I love that
That's the broth.
juice.
The
Yes.
broth makes it.
Should I put a little ice cube in it maybe and see how it goes that way?
Oh, I'll tell you, that's a great recipe, and it's found in the pages of our brand new October-November Outdoor Digest magazine. You can get a hold of it. The address is coming up in just a moment. Some of you bow hunters may have noticed I didn't use my traditional recurver longbow this season. I got that deer with a compound. Oh, it was a naughty thing to do, but I tell you, this worked. We'll talk more about bows on future shows. I hope you can get outdoors this weekend. It's a great place to be. See you next week.
The bigger ones will start moving back. A lot of does and younger ones run these upland runs.
When you say this is a north-south run right here,
Right.
along the river. Next week on Michigan Outdoors, we'll bring you a how-to story on hunting swamps for big bucks with a hunter who has done just that. Also, a report on DNR answers to Tom Alley's committee. We just got word that this hearing might be on Monday instead of Tuesday. Call Representative Alley's office tomorrow or Monday for an exact day and time. But be sure to join me next week right here on Michigan Outdoors. Yeah, touched up over here, started rubbing right here. But this isn't enough to get you cranked to hunt right here. No, we're going back. We're going farther. This is not good enough.